Okay, my friends, I am officially impatient waiting on realtor time. So I would love to get started. I want to thank you all for being here today and for joining me for a lovely class called Unlock the AI Advantage for Your Real Estate Business. So the reason we're here today is because hopefully you at least know that AI is a thing right now in the market, right? And you may have heard of ChatGPT, Gemini, Gronk. You may have heard of Claude. You may have heard of all of these different AIs, right? And so each of these AIs has their own reasoning and tools. I did push start on that. It's a good thing that I remember my tech. Each of these AIs have their own use cases, right? So the one built into Meta for Facebook and Instagram is going to behave differently than the one built into Google called Gemini. So each of these AIs have their own reasoning, their own logic, their own behaviors. The one that I'm going to teach you about today is ChatGPT. So ChatGPT is kind of the standard across the industry. It was really the first four-player in this kind of AI era that we're now in, and it is owned by Microsoft and Bing. So it's built into a lot of Windows products now too, if you happen to see that. So everything I reference today, I'm going to show you screenshots, just because I didn't trust the Wi-Fi here, of things that I actually do inside ChatGPT. And the reason I want to tell you that in advance is I'm not going to sit here and have you log in and do your own, but I'm going to show you some use cases for it, and then I'm going to leave tons of room at the end for specific questions for you guys, okay? So anytime that you hear me say something about AI, I personally am referencing ChatGPT. And part of the reason I love it is the fact that I use it on my computer, and I can use it on my tablet, and I can use it on my phone, and it all interconnects very simply. One question I had before we got started was, do you pay for it? And the answer is, you don't have to. They do have a free version, so as you guys start to kind of engage with this, if you haven't ever played with AI yet, go ahead and log in and use that free version to get started. The reason you would pay for it, which ChatGPT is $20 a month, is because it unlocks extra features and you can use it more extensively. So understand that I'm not asking you to spend a dime today, just trying to help you become a little bit more aware about what AI can do for you. So my name is Jess Weber, for anybody that doesn't know me, and I am a business systems and AI coach, meaning that I help people get organized in their business, I help them simplify, I help them build systems so that they can scale to hit whatever goals they want to hit. That comes from years of experience being in a brokerage. So I was a former brokerage leader, COO, CFO, tech trainer, all these different titles. I kind of collected every acronym there was. You know, I did that in teaching too, because my background prior to real estate was education. And I am a little bit of a unique bird. If you have ever read the book Rocket Fuel or understand what EOS, Entrepreneurial Operating System is, they talk about visionaries, which is like 98% of entrepreneurs, right? You're the big thinker, big idea, big goal person. And then the book also says you need a visionary, needs an integrator, somebody who can help you do, implement, build. I'm both of them. So if you have a question about something along the way during this class, please don't hesitate to ask, because my brain can go both directions. And my biggest thing in life is here to help people. So I am known, like I said, for simplifying processes and leveraging technology to, really help people scale their workflow and achieve their goals. If you have any questions besides today, feel free to find me on social media. Feel free to grab my email. I am happy to answer questions, whether it's related to a simplified system, a process, or anything like that. Now, Rose Meister, I see you. I'm calling you out because I know you. You already have your phone out. So I know that as an ADHD human, I talk fast. I know that this is a lot of information, and I know some people have to leave 40 minutes in for closings, and I'm going to hold that against them. I already told them that, but I love them anyways. So what I do at the beginning of every class is I offer you all of my slides. This is your cheat sheet. So what you can do right now is either scan this QR code, which will pull up your email on your phone, and you can shoot me an email. The only thing I ask is you make sure that it says AI class May 6 in the subject line, okay? When you hit send on that, my email will auto-respond and send you all these slides plus 2 PDFs as a giveaway, okay? So I wanted to give you this so that you didn't feel pressured to take every single note and then feel overwhelmed by what I'm teaching you, okay? I'll pull this up again at the end. If somebody comes in late and your friends don't know how to use the QR code, you can help them later, all those things. But I want you to know that I'm here, I'm accessible, and I'm trying not to overwhelm you, okay? So, why you are in this room, right? You might be somebody who feels like they are doing too much by yourself every single transaction, every single day in your business. You might be a solo agent and you are starting to feel overwhelmed, right? We're headed into that summer market. You might want to know how to level up. Additionally, you've heard about AI, you've heard about that GPT thingy, right? You know it's coming, but you have no idea where to start because you're not a tech person. So you might feel a little bit overwhelmed by people talking about AI, and the only frame of reference you have is the Terminator. Guys, I'm not talking Skynet today, okay? So I want to help you feel comfortable with this tool to help you level up your business. You also might be somebody who wants to buy back some of your time, become more consistent because you tend to fly by the seat of your pants. Or you might need more leverage. You might not be to that point of hiring a full-time director of operations, and you want to learn how to just get a little bit more time and leverage back. If you are somebody who is not looking for hype, but you want practical help, so you are tired of hearing about all the things in the news, you don't really trust the media, and you're like, I don't even know what the heck to do with AI and how it's going to help me in my business. I want to know tactical, practical advice. Okay, is there anybody in this room that one of those 4 things does not hit? Did I hit them all? Y'all can talk to me. Like, I don't need to just hear my own voice. Thank you. Okay, so with that in mind, here's what I want to cover. How AI can simplify what you are already doing. So today's goal is not to tell you to completely change your life and everything. It's to help already improve upon what you are doing yourself. Because let's face it, if somebody came in here today and said everything you've done to get where you are is crap and you need to go change it, you're going to be like, Jess, seriously? And you're going to want to get up and leave. So what I want to do is help you amplify what you're already doing and level that up. What I want to show you is 4 of the best use cases for real estate agents. So 4 different ways that you can apply using AI in your business specifically. What I'm going to show you is a real prompt inside ChatGPT and its real answers and results, and then how I use that. Additionally, I want to show you some of the common mistakes that people make with AI and how not to do that so that you are more informed. And then I want to help you start using AI immediately. So if you're not somebody that's ever logged into ChatGPT before, or you haven't downloaded the app on your phone, I want you to feel comfortable enough by the end of this class that you can walk out of here and say, I can go to chatgpt.com or download the app from your app store and feel comfortable moving forward. So that's my goal for today. Let's start with what AI is not, okay? So AI is not here to replace you. I know there is all kinds of buzz in the media of like, oh, you know, the big billow and all those things happening. They are not trying to replace you. But what will happen is those that are using the tool of AI, those will be the people that replace you. I have a 4-year-old. I'm trying to learn how to do things in this world, in this marketplace, because I'm sitting here thinking, what is his school experience going to be like? What will it look like for him if he chooses a vocation or to go to college? AI is changing the landscape, right? And so we need to be aware of that and know how to use it effectively, rather than just avoid it, hide, brush it under the rug, right? So it's not here to replace you. The people who are enabled with it will replace you. The other thing is, it's not magic. It's not wizardry, right? We are not in Hogwarts. It is just a tool. It is not going to do anything other than be the language model that it was created to be. That's what an AI is. It's a language model. It reads all the language of the internet and all the language of anything that was ever fed to it. So it synthesizes information and then feeds it back to you based on parameters or prompts that you set. Okay, it's not perfect. I'm going to show you a little bit of that later in some of my prompts. It is not infallible. It can make mistakes, and you can make mistakes using it. So be intentional about looking at everything and being aware of how you're using it. And then it's useless without your expertise. If you're not feeding it what you know and how you operate, it's not going to do the thing you want it to do. Okay? So what AI is, however, it's a thinking partner. How many of you have somebody in your world that you babble to, that you brain dump to, that you bounce ideas off to? 3 of you. Wow. Wow. Okay, cool. 4. Thank you. Okay, cool. 5. I can count. Yes. No. So AI can be a thinking partner. What I mean by this is like I said, visionary, big ideas, big goals. I want to do all the things. I want to change the world, right? Or I want to change the lives of my family. I want to change the landscape of my business. A lot of times when I am motivated like that I will have a lot of ideas. But the thing is, I can't act on every idea in an instance, right? I can't do all the things at one time and then expect the results to just show up. So what I can do is I can pull out my GPT on my phone, and it has a voice feature as much as it has a text feature, and I can literally babble to it and brain dump to it. Say, here's all the things I'm thinking. We've already had a conversation about my goals. What do you think I should do with all these thoughts? Can you save them for later? Do you think I should create an action plan? And you can literally brain dump to the AI to help you release some of those thoughts and be really intentional. Okay, another thing that AI is 24/7 on-call personal assistant. This is my favorite. I have a habit of waking up at 3 a.m. with all the ideas in the world, right? Or I'm on the go with a 4-year-old and I'm like, I don't want to forget to do this thing. And instead of using sticky notes, instead of using notebooks that I lose everywhere, because like I said, ADHD and paper just doesn't mix, AI has now become my brain dump space. So every time I have a task that I need to do or a thing to remember, I will dump it into my GPT because, again, on my phone, on my computer, on my tablet, I have it everywhere. And then every day I can be intentional and say, hey, all those things I gave you, what do I actually need to work on today, right? So it's a 24/7 personal assistant. It's also a tool to simplify and streamline your busy work. So if you are somebody who tends to get lost in the weeds, you get very overwhelmed by things, this becomes a great asset because you're like, do I actually need to do that thing? What should I do next to move my business forward? And then finally, it's a support system for how you already do your business. So like I said, it can't replace you. It can't 100% replace another human because it can't go be a showing assistant, right? But it can do so many things to help you level up what you're already doing in your business. So I want to show you a quick example of what I mean here. This is what I call the showing scheduler. So how many of you work with buyers who are like, I want to see 427 properties today? Yep, yeah, okay. How many of you have done it in the past if you've leveraged that off? Thank you, that's more hands, that's better. Like I said, I need interaction. So we have a habit, right, in the past of, oh, here's all these properties, they've sent me all these things, whether it's through the MLS or text message or whatever. I've got 6 properties that they want to go see on Saturday and Sunday. I, in the past, would have pulled up all those properties, looked at Google Maps, been like, okay, here, 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 oh my God, what the heck, right? And I would have spent time and energy taking those properties and trying to figure out the most effective route to make sure my people see all of them while not wasting 2 full days of my weekend, right? Because my family's way more important. So what I can do with ChatGPT is I can write a prompt. So here's this one. I have a buyer looking in 3 neighborhoods. They want to see 6 homes over the weekend. Can you create a viewing plan that breaks it up and add in drive time? Okay? Here's the list of the 6 properties. Like I said, I know if it's hard to read, you've got the slides. So what you can do is I literally copied and pasted what I put on that blue page right here. So this is me copying and pasting in my ChatGPT. There's the prompt, there's the 6 properties, okay? Whenever you put something into GPT, this little arrow is basically your enter button. It's a send it away to the AI gods and make them do things with it, okay? So when I hit send, that prompt goes through, and at the top, I know, like I said, it's a little hard to see, but it says, absolutely, here's a streamlined, practical weekend home tour plan for your buyer focused on efficiency and comfort. The properties are grouped by proximity to minimize your drive time and maximize your viewing opportunities. And what it did was it took those, you can see, I've got a start time, I've got total drive time averaged, total viewing time averaged, it even built in a lunch break for me, right? And if I scrolled down, you would see all of it. So it did it for both Saturday and both Sunday based on those 6 properties across 3 neighborhoods. Now, at the bottom of it, I have the ability to continue interacting with this prompt. So it gave me input. I can say, great, thank you, I'm done. Or I can ask it to do more things. So what I did was I said, hey, that's great. Can you simplify that list into bullet points with just the times and locations and no added notes? I just wanted the bullet points. I don't need all that fluff. I don't need the emojis. It's too much for me. So it's like, absolutely, here you go. There's your properties with the times. You can copy and paste that into text. Now, I could also turn around and say, hey, that's great. Can you add all the property details for me? Price, number of bedrooms, number of bathrooms, square footage, lot size, and then put it in a PDF that I can download and print for my clients. Can you put in the directions between properties? It can do whatever you ask it to do within its language model parameters. So the great thing is you don't have to operate the way that it outputs. You tell it how you want it to operate. So if you like simple, tell it to go simple. If you like detailed, tell it to go detailed. You get to decide how this language model gives you your information. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so that was the first prompt. If I go back, I put in I literally copied and pasted this blue slide and said, and I just copied, paste, and hit enter. And then that's what it did. Rick?
How does it know what you're trying to ask? Like, how does it know what it's showing you? Does it say?
It has all of the language of the internet. So the internet, if you said, what is a showing, it would already know that, right? So this goes beyond Google. Google is a keyword search function, right? So if I said, like, if I went to Google and I said, what is a showing in the real estate industry? Google would look for the keyword showing and real estate and try to find you results. ChatGPT has already read every single web page there is, every single book that has been fed to it. So it already has all that information. It's like your encyclopedia has all that information. It already knows all of that. It's literally a language model, meaning it absorbs the language, understands, and can process it. So when I say, hey, I want to go do these showings, it already knows what showings are. It already knows that I'm in real estate. It knows all those things because I've already taught it that I am a real estate agent. Right. So the big thing here, and I'm going to go into that further, is that you do have to train it. So the first time I do something, it might assume that I'm a real estate agent, but I haven't told it, hey, my name is Jess Weber and I am licensed with KW St. Louis and I've had a license since 2019. Here's my license number. If I give it all of that, it can go look up more info about me. It might go check the MREC to see if my license is active. Like, it's bananas, the things that it can do if you train it about you. And I'm sorry, but I've had a lot of people ask me like, well, I don't want to give it that information. It shouldn't have my license number. If it's on the internet, it already knows. So all you're doing is helping it work faster and smarter by confirming that the information it already has is correct and associated with you. Okay? So there's no reason to fear it because if it's on the internet, it's already aware. Does that help? Okay. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. So simple, super simple example of how to work smarter, not harder, right? So a couple things, again, I want you to remember here. You can make it as simple as detailed as you like. So I already gave you this example. Drive times, property specs, distance between each house, directions between each house. You could ask it to give you the top 3 restaurants on the route based on Yelp reviews and make it suggest a lunch place. Like, you can go as detailed as you humanly can. The other thing you can do is you can export it in any function or feature. So I can copy and paste those if like I was doing it on my phone and send it as a text message, right? But I could say, hey, please export as a PDF for email. Hey, please export as a spreadsheet. And it will do like an Excel spreadsheet for you that you can upload into Google Docs, right? So you can tell it how you operate and it will work with you on that. Yes, ma'am. That is a great question. I believe it is part of the free section. There's the things that the paid do is you can train it better and you can create folders, and we'll go into that a little bit more. But I believe all that kind of basic stuff that I'm teaching you is all part of the free. It's been a long time since I worked in the free. I told you I'm techie, so it was one of those things of like, oh yeah, okay, I can do things. Let me see what I can do for $20 a month. And then I'm like, I'm gonna maximize my dollar, so I do a lot. Okay, so I said I was gonna give you 4 major use cases, right? Here's use case number 1, time and task management. Okay, so I mentioned this before. What if you had a listing assistant on call 24/7? I know that most real estate agents don't have a really set, rigid calendar. They operate when the business happens. And you might have an assistant, but they might not operate when you operate, right? So there's beauty in the fact that you can have an AI assistant on call 24/7. So every time that you get a new listing, you have set steps that you've probably got in your head, maybe have on paper, right? Well, you can train the AI to know your entire step and checklist. You can have it help you remember key tasks, right? So again, like I said, I babble to mine all the time. Hey, don't let me forget this. Hey, I need to call this person. Hey, I need to send this email. Oh my God, I forgot to click this button on this thing to submit my CE, and now my license is about to expire. Doesn't matter what it is. It can help you remember key tasks. It can help you stop wasting time building timelines and to-do lists from scratch. So again, all those things that I babble, I can say, hey, prioritize these based on my goal for today and the fact that I have 2 hours to work on my task list, and it can organize those for you so I don't even have to think. I've given it all my tasks, now it's just putting them in an order. And the thing is, I'm human. I have autonomy. It can spit out the list and I can be like, actually, because of this thing that I forgot to tell it, this is the highest priority. You don't have to follow it, but it's there to help you buy back time and energy. And then also, you have probably been doing things manually because you feel like it's faster than training somebody. I am like that. I operate at 10x speed most of the time, and I hate training people. This thing is life-changing, right? Because of the fact that it's created a space where I can have it do some of the busy work, right? Those little things that just take energy and take time. It can do so much of that for me. So where is your time probably actually going with AI? It can help you build out a full listing prep timeline in seconds. So it can literally say, I'm gonna list 123 Main Street. Here's my, maybe you've already taught it. This is my listing prep checklist, right? It can literally help you say, okay, this listing is going live, in 3 weeks. Help me build out everything based on my timeline, right? So it can build all of those in seconds. It can create reusable checklists. So like I was saying, you can export things in a PDF and you can print that over and over again or use it on a Remarkable or a tablet. You can export in a spreadsheet, which is my favorite thing. I'm probably alone in this, right? I love spreadsheets. They're a great way to organize data. A Remarkable is a e-ink tablet, kind of like a Kindle that you can write on. But it doesn't have all the apps and features like a tablet. So, great question. I assumed. So, yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to ask, about the assistant. Do you have to download different AI apps?
Nope.
Oh, okay.
I only use ChatGPT.
Oh, okay.
Just one. And then I train it to do all sorts of different things. So, like I said, we'll go through this a little more. I've got a few more screenshots of mine and examples, and then I have plenty of Q&A time if you want to actually see inside mine, as long as the Wi-Fi is behaving. Okay, so you can create reusable checklists. You can print them. You can put them in spreadsheets with checkboxes. You can do all sorts of things. That's also great if you're handing it off to somebody else. Maybe you have a specific way you do things and you're working with a brand new TC. You can create your checklist and then send it to the TC, and you guys can work in it together. So You can do that. You can turn due dates into a sequence plan, meaning this listing goes live in 3 weeks. Here's all the things I need to do. Tell me what to do on what day. I only work Monday to Friday. And it will do all of that for you. It can develop and prioritize your to-do list based on where you are. So, hey, I did the first 5 steps. What's next on my list? It will tell you all these things. You can even screenshot your calendar. Hey, here's my week. Tell me what I need to do this week. Like, it's bananas. So, another example for you guys, listing launch timeline. I kind of threw this out there and mentioned it, but I want to show you what it practically looks like. So, create a 21-day marketing and prep timeline for a new listing going live on May 20th, 2025. Include the following: staging, photos, MLS input, social posts, and open house prep. So I'm literally copying and pasting this exact prompt, right? Literally copy paste. When I hit enter, this is what it does. So it'll start at the top. May 20th, listing goes live. There's the things you need to do. You need to have it go live in the MLS. You need to have a for sale sign. You probably want to send out listing emails to your sphere locally, that kind of thing, right? But then it works backwards. It says starting 3 weeks earlier from May 20th, which is May 1st on a Tuesday, there's probably what you need to do. There's the first week of the 3 weeks out. Then it's the second week of the 3 weeks out. And it keeps going. And then it gives you the third week. And then it gives you, like, right after you launch and go live, what you should be doing, right? So at the bottom, every time you give it a prompt, it's going to give you some sort of phrase after it gives you the data or ask you a question. So this one says, would you like this in a printable format, like a PDF? Or do you want it in a calendar style? So do you want it to put it on the calendar and show you what to do on each day? Okay? How cool is that? Now, if you don't want to move forward with that, maybe you want more details, maybe you want something else, you don't have to answer that question, but it starts thinking critically about how you behave and then gives you suggestions to make sure that you're using things. Yeah.
Can you also put, like, yes, I want both?
Yes.
So, and then it would give you.
Yes.
Yeah.
The only limit is your own brain. Literally, that's it. Yes, ma'am.
Do you know if the paper if you ask it to do some things and it's too detailed, that's not in the free version, does it just not do it, or does it tell you you got to pay for that?
Typically what will happen is it's not that it's too detailed, but it'll say you've hit a certain limit of data that you can use in it. So kind of like you have data on your cell phone. Most of you probably pay for unlimited, but back in the day, we didn't do that, right? And so it'd be like, oh, you've hit your maximum for today. Please wait till tomorrow, and then you can still come back to it. So that's one reason that I paid for the paid version really fast, is when I first started playing with this, I spent a couple days, weeks, month, I don't know, training it on me because I wanted it to operate a certain way. And so I hit my limit every day for the first couple of days because I was really frustrated with, like, how much I was dumping into it. And it was like, you've hit your data limit. So I added more. Yeah.
When you were training it on you, was it just like an organic conversation kind of?
Yeah. So I have one of my clients, because like I said, I'm a business coach. One of my clients, he goes on walks, puts his earbuds in and turns on the voice section on his app. And he has conversations with it like it's a human. So he goes on walks and just talks. And he'll argue with it, which is his favorite thing to do. So he's like, no. I know somebody else who uses it, instead of going to read Wikipedia or, like, you know, good old encyclopedias that are dusty on my mom's shelf in her basement, right? You can sit there and be like, I want to learn everything there possibly is to know about great white sharks because my 4-year-old is interested. It can sit there and start telling you all the things. And you'd be like, no, I don't need the specific details. I'd actually really like the fun facts that would interest a 4-year-old. And you can just have conversations with it. So what I did, which actually I was going to show you guys here, is my favorite thing to do is flip the script. It always pretty much asks me a question at the end. I like to ask it questions back. So what I did on this particular prompt right here is I said, starting with May 1st, what information do you need to know to help make sure we complete this list in its entirety? So I said, what do you need from me to help me make this more thorough? That's the same thing I did when I was training it on myself. So I was like, hey, My name's Jess Weber. I live in St. Louis. I'm 37. I blah, 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 blah. What information do you need to learn more about me to help me in my business as a business coach? So I ask it all the time. Now, when you first ask it, it will always spit out a series of questions or a list. So you'll see here, property address, occupied or vacant, seller availability, any repairs or prep needed, and the list goes on. That to me, with my lovely ADHD brain, is very overwhelming because I might answer 14 of those when I'm trying to answer one. So what I like to do is I like to say, please ask me questions one at a time about what you need to know to make this happen. And then most of the time, I'll answer half those questions while answering one, just because I talk a lot. So again, you can train it to behave a certain way that works best for your brain. For me, that way is one question at a time, and I want it to exhaust the questions before we move forward with anything. Yes, ma'am.
Quick question. The free chat GPT,
Mm-hmm.
when you purchase it for $20 a month, does it transport, does it know all the initial
Yes.
questions
Yes.
you had on the free one?
Yeah, yeah. So what you do is you sign in with like a Google account, right? A Gmail account or something like that. Or create a login with your email if you're not a Google user. And then it'll stay attached whether you're paying for it or not. So the data is attached to your login profile, not your credit card.
I just recently purchased it, and
Yeah.
it will, at first to ask you, like you'll ask me the question, it says, do you prefer me to answer this way or this way? And it'll give like two different,
Yeah, it again, it likes,
to learn you.
yeah, it starts to learn your learning style. It's like, hey, you know, like I told it, I'm neurodivergent or neurospicy if you like that better. I was like, I think really fast, so I need you to not let me get derailed and distracted. And so a lot of times what it'll do is it'll give me two answers, and it's like, which one is more relevant to what you're thinking about right now? So again, yes, but it learned that by starting with me playing with it for free and then paying for it, and it knew all my free stuff, and then I added to it with my paid stuff. Yes, ma'am.
So you said it connects from your phone to your tablet.
Mm-hmm.
So is that only if you have an account? Because I use it in all three and they're not connected, and I have a free account.
Did you log into all three with the same account? Because that would be the reason it probably didn't do it. Like my native phone is my personal email, where my computer is my work email. So I had to be intentional and make sure I logged in with the right email across all three, because they will not talk to each other. Yeah. Okay, so again, I love asking these questions, right? Because it's gonna then fish for the right data to then serve you better. Again, remember our example was a listing launch timeline. So you tell it as much as you need to give it as thorough of a timeline as you want. Couple things I want you to remember here. We kind of talked about this already. You can ask it clarifying questions to develop a better understanding. So you don't have to stick with the first answer. Say, what am I missing? What did I forget? Is this the right timeline for this property, knowing where it is and what the market looks like? Ask it questions to get better responses, okay? Once you start training it, you won't have to do that every single time. So like in the example of a listing launch timeline, if it knows your preferred stager, your preferred photographer, your preferred operating procedure in terms of order of operations on tasks, it's gonna take all that into account. So every time you do this, it only gets better and smarter. You don't have to, like, it's like training a small child where you have to teach them first, but then, like, so you're teaching them to walk, and then they start walking, and then they start running, and then they run away, right? You know, you gotta give it a little bit of effort and time, but you're not gonna reteach it how to walk again, okay? So, yes?
One time, my client didn't understand the new contracts that came.
Uh-huh.
And I uploaded the contract into ChatGPT and asked it to break it down in a 7th grade reading level for my client to understand it.
You were
And then
very
I
generous.
asked them to put it into an email format.
Yeah.
And then it did it, and I sent it to my client, and she understood it.
That's perfect. So just so you guys know, like I said, background in education, you were very generous with 7th grade level.
Yep.
Honestly, you can go between 3rd and 5th grade for most people.
Long child.
And I don't say that rudely. It's just the vocabulary, the sentence structure, the way that it behaves. It knows what 7th grade should be versus what 7th grade is. So I tend to go and err on the side of lower. But I love that you mentioned that, because that is super helpful in terms of like this kind of thing. Because maybe you have a listing launch timeline and you're trying to share that with your people and you know that they're going to get overwhelmed by the whole list. So say, hey, help me break down my timeline into only the things my client needs to know or do in the first week. And then help me build out an email sequence for each week after that, keeping them updated on what they need to know or do at a 3rd grade level. And it will do that. Yes?
Do you spend a lot of time like giving it feedback so it can tell you you're ahead of schedule on this?
Yeah.
Actually, this isn't
Yes.
mistakes or-
Yes. I can show you guys at the end. I had something that goes with that, so don't let me forget. I want to show it to you.
I asked if she gave like feedback on her processes so that maybe after a certain number of times it would say, this whole process takes 26 days, 21 days.
Yeah.
Or this is-
So like I said 21, but it really wasn't because of X, Y, and Z. If you give it feedback, it starts to learn that. Like I might be really optimistic and be like, I can do it in 14, and it's 47, right? And if you keep telling it things, it's gonna learn. So again, literally it lives in my pocket for a reason, okay? So ways that you can use this today. Again, open house prep plans. If you need to, like, if you have a system for how you do open houses, I need to print these things, I need to buy these things, I need to get shoe covers, I need to book this thing, I need to, do a rain dance, I don't care what it is. You train it, it can help you build that out immediately. It can create onboarding checklists. So what information do you want to know from your buyers? And create a buyer checklist that you can send to them as a survey, right? Say, hey, before we have our first meeting, these are the things I want you to think about so that you have answers by the time we connect. Because I know that if I ask you these questions in person and you and your spouse haven't had a conversation, it might derail the meeting by 20 minutes because you're fighting over whether or not a 2-car garage is a need to have or a want to have. So you can use this to create those opportunities to provide a higher level of client experience. You can create pre-closing task sequences, right? So under contract, what's going to happen between now and closing? Here's my title. Here's the parties involved. Here's the things I know we've done. Here's the things we need to do. It can do all of that. It can create social media content strategies. So you saw it briefly in my example, but you're like, hey, 123 Main Street is going live on May 20th. I want to create a coming soon sequence, and then I want to create a going live sequence. I only operate on Instagram. I don't really touch that Facebooky thing because I'm just kidding. But you can literally tell it where you operate, what type, because it's going to write differently for each different social media platform. Yes, ma'am. So it says it does. I'm not a fan of it yet, but I'll tell you this. I was going to save this for the end. Every single piece of this is built in Google Slides. I built the PowerPoint. Every word written here was written by ChatGPT. So I knew what I wanted to teach you. I had the ideas. I said, what do I need to write on each slide? And it gave me the script for every slide based on the outline that I provided it. So that's what I do with Canva, is I want to create this thing. I want to create a graphic for this house. It's in this neighborhood. I want to create a coming soon graphic. What should I make in Canva? Like what would be relevant to put on this graphic? And then what caption should I use to garner the most shares versus likes or comments? And you can give it parameters that way. Canva has its own built-in AI that can help you with some of that as well. So I tend to lean on the tool inside the product if they have their own, if that makes sense. Yes. Another thing it can do, like I said, weekly calendar, tasks, priorities. So I said I babble to mine all the time. I literally will take a screenshot of my Google Calendar, which this is a whole soapbox for me, so don't let me get too started. On your calendar, you should only have meetings and then your start and stop time for the workday, and then everything else should be white until you have another meeting or you're doing your task list on that day. So what I do is I'll screenshot my week. I'll say, hey, here's what I've got in terms of meetings. Here's my start and stop time. Here's how much white space I have on Tuesday. Based on my tasks that I've already babbled to you, what should I do in the time that I have available? And it will tell me. Okay? So you can use this to help you manage your time, to create lists, to be more effective without having to do all that legwork yourself. Okay, here's the second use case, smarter client communication. So this is where a lot of agents tend to use it and then get really stuck. They're like, I should have followed up yesterday. Have GPT remind you, add it to your priorities, right? I don't know what the heck to say to that buyer that ghosted me. Have it help you write that. I want to sound like me, not a robot. So the more that you feed it, the more emails, the more texts, the more feedback you give it, the more it's going to sound like you. Example for this with Canva and things like that. I will sit there and be like, hey, I want to create this social media post. I'll start writing a caption and I'm like, this is what I wanted to say, but I'm not saying it the right way. But I like having a sense of humor like Ryan Reynolds. So I'll dump the thing in there and be like, hey, write this as if Ryan Reynolds was writing it. And then I'll go back and tweak it again. So again, it can sound like whomever and whatever you want it to sound like.
I was gonna say, when you do that, you also should tell it, write it in the first person.
Yep.
That means it'll write it exactly like you're the person.
Correct.
Instead of it having to go and you have to.
Yes, yes. So that's a great point. You can say, write it first person, write it third person, remove names, add names, all the things. So depending on what kind of content you're putting out, you give it those parameters. Because I might not write in first person, I just listed this house, right? So I might say remove the first person if it's a listing thing or something like that. Okay? So again, train it to sound like the way you want it to sound. This is also my other thing. A lot of people are not writers. If I asked everybody where they went to high school, I'm sure people had a very vast different experience. I went to Westminster because that's my parents. And all I do is write because of them. But I am very different than you, and you may not feel comfortable writing an email or a blog post or something like that. It can help you write whatever the heck you wanted to write. So you should never feel uncomfortable about writing ever again. Rose, it's not me. No. No. But the thing is, this is great. So like if you are getting a lead that's texting you maybe, or they're chatting you on socials and you've never met them and you don't know them, you can literally copy and paste what they've said to you into GPT and say, how do you think I should respond to this? Right? So you can even use it as sales tactics for cold leads that are reaching out if you are uncomfortable trying to convert via a DM. So use it and train it to behave like you. So remember, AI doesn't replace you. It reminds people that you exist. So it can draft those emails and texts, like I said, for any scenario. It can match your tone. So if you say, I want it more serious or more, professional or more urgent, or if you have, I know some people probably went to Family Reunion or Mega Camp. Phil Jones, the author of Exactly What to Say, has been there. You can say, hey, I need you to write this in the style of Phil Jones, right? So it can match whatever tonality you give it. You can have it build mini follow-up campaigns. I need 7 emails over the course of 14 days. Tell me what to write, and when to send it, right? And I want to do that to warm up cold leads. It will do all the things. It eliminates the friction of figuring out exactly what to say. That's truly what AI is here to do. So it's not replacing you, it's enabling you. It's supporting you. There is no longer an excuse of, I hate writing, because you don't have to write. So here's this third example. Yes, ma'am?
Okay, quick question. I don't know anything about this. When you say I'm feeding it,
Yeah.
okay, let's say that I like the contract that she was doing or an email. Am I copying and pasting, or am I sending it a PDF?
Yep.
I'm doing any of that.
Anything you want. So like I said, I put my calendar in it. That's me taking a screenshot on my computer or a screenshot on my phone and uploading that image, which is usually like a PNG or a JPEG file, an image file. But her contract is a PDF. You can upload a PDF. If you have a website link, you can put a website link in and it can process some of the information from there. So whatever type, it has a certain, it'll tell you if it's a file type that's not supported. Like ChatGPT is not going to listen to a video and make you the transcript, right? It's not gonna, like if you had a Zoom, like if I took today's class, it wouldn't listen to 2 hours of me teaching you and then do it for me. But there are other AI tools out there. There's Opus, there's Descript, there's a half dozen, Riverside. I could plug my video in, it'll do a transcript for me, and then I could use AI to synthesize notes from that transcript. So that, like I said, there's a myriad of tools. I'm not asking you to use all of them. I'm asking you to practice with one for free to start. And to me, GPT is the most versatile for your business today.
And so if I'm feeding it
Yeah.
like emails or whatever.
Sure.
Every time I need something, do I need to remind it that I want it in my voice? Or
Nope. It'll start to learn, and then you give it feedback. So like if you say, hey, here's the email that the client said, here's what I sent back, here's what the client said, I need to respond, it'll synthesize from that, and then it'll give you a script, and then you can say, yes, that's appropriate, or no, I want to tweak it to be more professional. I need it shorter, I need it longer. This doesn't sound like me. The other trick that I do here to feed it, right, is if I do write something that's very different, like it did the legwork, it gave me the framework, but I had to tweak some things, really didn't sound very Jess. I'll give it back my tweaks and say, you don't have to say thank you, by the way. That costs ChatGPT billions of dollars if you are polite. So please don't feel like you need to say thank you or please. But if you say, hey, I took your script and I tweaked it, here's the final result, it'll say thank you. I'll learn from that and keep that in mind for later. So that's when I say feed it, it's like give it more. Don't just stop, because then it can't keep learning. It's a language model. It needs more language. So, yeah, no problem. Okay, third example, re-engaging a cold buyer. So again, here's my prompt. Write a warm, casual follow-up email to a buyer who hasn't responded since their second showing. Mention you're here if they have any questions or need more options. And then, because I love Phil Jones and I love the way his language works, I said, keep in mind the language of strategies taught by Phil M. Jones and exactly what to say, and make sure that my email does not come across as too salesy or too stiff. So when I give it this prompt, I did that, I hit enter, it says, great. Oops, I shouldn't stand in front of that, sorry y'all. Here's a warm, casual follow-up email that aligns with Phil Jones, and then it gives me the script. So this is where I would take it. I might copy it into my email client, tweak a few things, send it off, and then I'd copy what I sent and put it back in and say, thank you. Here's how I changed it. That's how I would feed it. So it started with one thing. I might tweak it a little more. You never have to use exactly what's here, but it's at least a start, and it eliminates about 85% of the thought process, right? Now, what's real fun is I said, after it gave me that, and let's say I used that email, how long should I wait before I follow up via text, and what should I say? I don't want to sound obnoxious or desperate. So I'm telling it my fears, I'm telling it my feelings, I don't want to come across this way. What language is appropriate to make sure that I'm not relaying that I'm desperate, right? I don't want to have commission breath. So it even gives me a suggested text. It says, timing a follow-up via text, 3 to 4 days. Say, hey, I just wanted to check in real quick, totally understand if things are still in motion here. So it even gives me a text message. So you can build out something for a specific person, or you can build out entire sequences in your CRM based on these languages, okay? So a couple things to keep in mind, remember, when you talk to ChatGPT to create your follow-up strategy, remember to tell it how you prefer to talk. So if you're a phone person, tell it you need a script for the phone, because that's going to look different than an email, which is going to look different than a text, which is going to look different than a social media post. Also, when you're feeding it information about a client and the engagement there, tell it what platform you're using to talk to that client on, because it's going to manipulate the language based on that as well. So just keep in mind that you got to give it parameters, but then it can help and work with that. And remember, you don't always have to go with the first script, as we already talked about. So you want to make things sound more you. So where can you do this? You can do this with pipeline check-ins. Hey, what's going on in the market this week? Give me a script, and then I'm going to call my, people in my database. Pre-approval or vendor nudges. If you're trying to get somebody's attention, but you don't want to sound obnoxious, you can get help there. Post-showing thank you follow-ups. You can write specific things. You can do a win-back sequence for past clients or old leads, so lead follow-up, check-ins, all of that kind of long-term nurture. Value-based messaging as a home expert. Remember that you as real estate agents aren't just transaction-based home experts, you're home ownership experts. You have all the vendor lists, you have all the connections, all the tools. Make sure that when you're talking to people, they understand that you're not just there for the commission, but you're there through their entire home ownership journey. And ChatGPT can really help you craft that messaging, okay? So, number 3, workflows. Sorry, I clicked that too fast. Systems and workflow support. So how many people feel like systems is a dirty word? Yeah, you can be honest. I'm gonna hold it against you, but it's okay. No, systems really are just a tool to help you have to think less and do more quickly. That's how I think of systems. It's a repeatable action or a repeatable effort. If you're gonna do it more than once, you better have a system. It does not mean that you have to have big orchestrated chaos, right? It can be, if this happens, then this happens, that's a system, okay? So don't let that word freak you out, scare you, make you feel uncomfortable. So the thing I want you to remember is you can't scale what only you know in your head, right? If you are working as a solo agent, but you're hiring a TC, you're hiring a showing assistant, you eventually want to have a director of operations. They need to know what you know. And you can't just download your head. We're not there yet with tech, right? So you have to start building systems, standard operating procedures, which we call SOPs. You have to start putting it somewhere. AI is a great place to do that because this is not me asking you to build a spreadsheet. This is not me asking you to build an entire SOP manual. This is asking me to start brain dumping somewhere because then the AI can do all that building for you, okay? So I do not want you to live by sticky notes, whiteboards, notebooks, or just the power of your brain anymore. I want you to start playing with this and start dumping there because it's gonna help. If you have an admin, a VA, a contractor of some kind, if they ask you a question more than once, then you probably don't have a documented system. Use AI to help you create that. If you want to avoid recreating the wheel for every single situation, build a process, build a system. If you want systems, you don't feel like it's a dirty word, but you feel like it's an overwhelming word, again, you can leverage AI to do it, okay? So here's where we turn your ideas into SOPs, standard operating procedures, checklists, systems, all those things that probably everybody in this room is not a fan of. AI can structure voice notes. So like I was saying, my client takes walks with his. You can literally babble to it and say, hey, build a checklist out of this. I need this, 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 and this. It doesn't have to be in order. It can synthesize all of that, right? You can scribble out something on paper if you're a drawer, upload the image, and then say, turn this image into a checklist, right? It can take your rough ideas and turn them into polished ones. It helps you build out onboarding lists, client workflows, any repeatable task. If you have to ask clients the same questions per client, you might want to build something like a Google form where all the questions are there and they can just input it and then you get all the data. Rather than you having to ask it every single time, you can say, hey, here's the link, right? There's things like that that you can do to create a system so you don't spend less time doing and more time serving. You can even draft internal documents. Like I was helping one of my clients, they needed a standard operating procedure manual. They have an entire team and they have zero documentation around what everyone does on the team and how things operate. Everything lives in everybody's heads. So I had ChatGPT, based on the operations of the organization, build out the outline, and then I'm teaching them how to use another AI tool to actually screen capture what they're doing so that their team isn't sitting there writing every single detail. They just do their job and screen record it at the same time, and then they attach it to the outline, and then they're done, right? So you can use this to build out as complex or as simple of things as possible. And my favorite acronym to help make systems not a dirty word, systems is save yourself time, energy, and money. Okay? Save yourself time, energy, and money. So here is a voice note example that I wanted to show you. This is the prompt. Turn this messy voice note transcript into a step-by-step checklist for prepping my listing to go live. This was me babbling. Literally, this is me babbling. So it's, I need to prep a listing for going live in the MLS and I need help coming up with a plan to get all of the paperwork ready, get the clients ready with the home and the staging and the photography. And I want to make sure that we do a whole listing assessment with an inspection and have a marketing plan ready to present to the buyer so that we know what to expect after we get those photos and make sure that we've all got the things in place. If I sent that voice memo to a human, Can you imagine how they'd react, right? Here's the beauty. I sent this to ChatGPT, and this is what it gave me. Pre-listing prep checklist for 123 Main Street. Initial setup, paperwork, property readiness, staging, marketing, client communication. It broke it all down for me. So I can send my crazy, ridiculous memos to this, and it can organize it for me. Then I could send that list to my human, who might not hate me as much this way. Did you have a question? I told you AI is not magic. No. Go ahead. Yeah. It can synthesize a pretty good amount, and you might have to give it a little bit of help. But the more you do it, the more it learns, oh, this loop-de-loop means a T. So again, the more you feed it, the better it, smarter and faster it gets. Okay? So I just wanted you guys to see, that was me babbling. You heard me say it. I said it about that fast, too. And it turned it into this. And then it said, hey, do you like this checklist, and do you want it as a printable PDF, or do you want it in Google Docs for editing? And so then you could turn it into a Google Doc and share it with your team and do all the things, right? So this is why I love AI. Again, you think fast, you operate in an entrepreneurial business, you're probably going a million miles a minute. If you're not, let's have a conversation about how we increase your business. But honestly, it is such a great tool to help you operate better without taking up more time. So again, things I want you to remember. Your lists don't have to be organized. Again, you don't even have to think in order. It can figure all that out for you. Your brain doesn't have to be organized. Mine's not. I promise you it's not. Yeah, no. So I love this because I've got a big computer set up. If you ever come to my home office, I got 4 screens going because I am a nerd. But I've got a built-in microphone because I'm on Zoom all the time. I literally will just push a button on my computer, talking to the microphone to my GPT on my computer the way I do on my phone, and get the exact same results. So you can use it on your phone, you can use it on your tablet, you can use it on your computer, the voice memoing, just like you can the texting. So if you're a slow typer or something like that, use the voice memo every single time, okay? So where you can use it, new agent onboarding, open house prep and follow-up, transaction timelines to your TC. I'm thinking anything you can babble to, right? Buyer seller intake guides. Maybe you've had a meeting and you want to babble all the things that happened after the meeting. So maybe they filled out a paper checklist that you're going to put the PDF in or the photos in, but you also want to give it your emotions and feelings because that's not on paper. You can babble a voice note plus the PDF, okay? And then any sort of like admin handoff sheets. So like you guys are talking about chicken scratch handwriting. If you're thinking of like, oh my gosh, I need to tell my admin these 5 things, I would much rather teach you a better way to do that, but we don't have that much time today. So what you can do is you could put all your chicken scratch or your voice memos in GPT and say, make me a list that I can send to my admin, okay? So last one, because I told you 4, right? Data-driven decisions. How many people like data? How many people love math? How many people love numbers? Yeah, you guys are lying. No, I'm just kidding. I know agents don't always love data. They like numbers if they happen to be attached to a commission percentage. But here's the thing. I told you, you're home ownership experts, not just home sales experts. So data is part of being an expert. Data is part of understanding what is going on so that you can have the right conversations with your clients, whether they're actually ready to transact or not. And so if you are not a numbers person or you're not a data junkie, you don't live inside spreadsheets, then this is an amazing tool that can help synthesize that data. And like we were talking about earlier with contracts, you can feed it the data and ask it to give you feedback at a 3rd grade level, right? So you can become an expert, but do it in a language and a way that you understand and a way that your clients can understand as well. So you have the data, let's face it, SLAR puts out data, NAR puts out data, you might have data from your office or something like that, but you never have time to read it, look at it, use it, study it, memorize it, all the things, especially because they're putting it out probably pretty frequently, monthly in most cases. So here's the beautiful thing. Notes in your CRM, spreadsheets, transaction logs, you don't have any insights on those. You don't know the trends because you're not studying that data, right? You track your lead sources, but you don't actually understand what's making you money because you haven't paid attention to that. You have market reports, but you have no idea what they say, right? Or you're relying on your instinct instead of interpreting that data. So what we can do is we can have AI turn numbers and notes into smart next steps. So it can analyze your CRM or lead list and summarize trends. Meaning, let's say you export the CRM, all of your last 12 months of closed transactions with lead sources and information and where they bought and sold. It can give you trends, right? It can spot which sources are converting the most deals. So you may think that your number one lead source is repeat business and referrals, and when it actually does the looking, they realize that it's your networking group that you're a part of, right? And then it can help you create a strategy to lean into that lead source at a higher level. It can review your last 10 conversations, so we talked about emails and texts and all of that, and suggest follow-up plans specific to your market. So if you're sending out like a monthly newsletter, it can look at all the responses and figure out how people are paying attention to it and then help you build a plan to execute after. Or it can summarize market reports into client-facing updates tailored specific to their area. So I wanted to show you this in a really simple way. I took this graphic off of the SLAR website. So the link's right here, St. Louis Realtors. This is the housing report from March 2025. What I did was I did not send it the link that you see at the bottom of this page. I sent it this graphic, this image, because I just like downloaded it and then uploaded it. And I said, here's the March 2025 St. Louis housing market summary. Can you turn this into a clear explanation that I can use with my sellers to help them understand what's happening and why now is still a very smart time to list? Okay, so I put this image in and that prompt in, right? And we're gonna go here, you can see, there's the image up there, there's my prompt right below it, and then it says, great, here's seller-facing explanations, and it breaks it down. Big bullet points and details. Buyer demand is strong, home values are holding, median sale price rose. It gives you all these details based on that information and what it can find on the interwebs, okay? But here's where I took it to the next level. So you can see fewer homes competing with yours. There's all the details. It says, do you want a version of this formatted for social media, email, a printable handout? I read that and I was like, no, what I want you to do instead is I want you to turn this into a series of text-based social posts that inspire action without an abrasive or sleazy call to action. So I want to put out like a sentence on a graphic, and I want to put that on Facebook and Instagram and things, right? So I gave it that prompt. It's like, great, here you go. Post 1, buyer activity is up. Did you know? And it gives me that, and it gives me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I could say I need 10, and it could give me 10, okay? So I didn't have to read the data. I didn't have to discern the data. All I had to do was upload the data and then give it the details of what I needed and wanted. So again, use it to be the expert that I know you guys are. You don't have to be the numbers person. You just have to be really good at articulating things to people. And this is a tool that can help you do that. Yes, ma'am.
I would just like to share that I have a listing that's not in such the best area.
Okay.
But I have an agent that has a client that wants it, but the area was the drawback. So I put it in ChatGPT and asked, how do I get this agent to get her client to write an offer? And I copied and put it and sent it to her, and she sent me an emoji and said, divine, will do. So she really liked the idea.
I love that. This makes my heart happy that you're leaning into this, because truly that's what it is. It's a tool to help you help your clients. It's a tool to help you be the best agent you can be. You are trying to help your clients. You know that you're not trying to be sleazy or sell somebody that property just for the sake of selling it, but you're helping handle objections. I love it. She's showing me the screenshot. That is fantastic. But seriously, you are handling an objection by using the tool, right? So if you're trying to get somebody to move into Ladue, it's gonna be a little bit different, right, than Florissant or Fenton or anything else. So what you can do is you can say, hey, I have a listing in Fenton. Help me craft language to draw people to this area based on what you know about it, and handle the common objections that I get from my showings, which are X, Y, and Z. So your messaging is crafted to already handle the objection so it doesn't ever show up, okay? So things to remember here. Again, you don't have to be the numbers guru. You have to be the home ownership expert. Leverage the data, leverage the tools, show off a little. It's okay, okay? You want to target people with very specific language. Let GPT help you without you having to memorize everything about every single township in the greater St. Louis area, okay? And remember, this is what we were talking about earlier. You can upload PDFs, you can upload images, you can upload spreadsheets, you can upload transcripts. So I can literally take everything that I taught you today, put it into an AI as a transcript and say, pull out my top 5 quotes, and then turn those into social media posts. And then do a really nice action shot that I think Haley got earlier, right, where I was pointing. You know, no. But seriously, this is the tool, you just have to use it. The only thing you have to do is use it. So again, reminder of where you can use this right now today. Write up your local market update. So if you're farming an area, write it about your farm. Translate MLS stats into client-ready advice. So if your client wants to look at a spot, look up all the MLS data and tell them the details and the specifics there. Create talking points for open houses, listing appointments, price drops. Price drops, I know, is one of those lovely conversations that it's everybody's favorite, right? So all you have to do is have it craft you a script on how to present the price drop appropriately. So you might do the CMAs, you might know the market, but can help you actually create objection handling statements that help with that conversation. You can differentiate yourself by explaining strategies in a way that makes sense. So back to that 3rd grade thing, right? Make it make sense for your person. If your client is a doctor down at WashU, you might want to go to 7th grade. No, but seriously, you tell it all the things and it gives you it back. So the more data you give it, the better the tool it is. And then let AI turn raw reports into clear client-facing language that builds trust. So again, any market data that you get from your board or from NAR or from your office, feed it in. Just dump it in and see what happens. Okay? Yes, ma'am.
Can you, when you're talking to ChatGPT, can you reference like a website or something? Or do you
Yes.
have to actually upload?
It depends on what it is. If it's something that GPT has like been aware of and scrubbed before, because GPT was taught to scrub the internet about a year ago, then it might know that. But if it's like currently updated, it might not read it. So that's why I typically, if I want to be specific, like that graphic, I just right-clicked on it on my computer, hit copy image, and then I hit paste. And it was 2 seconds to do. Yeah.
And another question, so when you close out of it,
Mm-hmm.
that time, that information,
It stays as long as you're logged in.
okay, so what's the best way to save things? Maybe you're not going to use that right at the moment, like, ooh,
Yes.
use that next week.
Yes. So when you're logged in, on the sidebar, it shows different chats. So I do different chats for different things. My marketing chat is going to look very different than my 123 Main Street listing chat. So I actually will do different chats based on my goals. Now, it knows me cohesively across all chats, but I keep them specific, and then you can go reference them or archive them. So like if I listed 123 Main Street and I did all this work on 123 Main Street, and then 123 Main Street closes and I don't need it anymore, I can just archive it. So it still has all the work that I did, but it's not bogging down my list, because the list goes by most frequently accessed to oldest, or most recently to oldest.
Is the list, is that your folders that you're talking about?
No, that's projects, and that's in the paid version. But even in the free version, there's like a thread of like, you had this conversation. It's almost like text messages. This conversation, this conversation, this conversation, this one.
How do you get to the folders if you pay?
You have to create them.
Okay.
And then they show up in that sidebar too. So great question. So in the paid version, not only do you have threads like text message conversations, you can create folders and put multiple threads in there. But my favorite thing about the paid version folders called projects is you can give it specific files, so PDFs, and specific directions. So I have one that's health related that's different than a business related one. So my health one has all my blood work in it. It has all my supplements in it. It has the diet and exercise plan from my fitness coach. and then I feed it the data from my Fitbit every day.
Oh.
That's going to be very different than my business one.
Right.
So I create a project per thing. And then like literally in my health one, I've got, here's my health data, but then I've got another one that's like key questions to ask my doctor, you know? And so like I can create multiple projects all under health because it's going to reference all those same pieces of info that I paid.
Hey.
Yeah.
You can do the folders. You can have a marking folder.
Yep.
A CMA folder.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
And in it, I can say operate as a licensed dietitian, a licensed physical therapist, and a board certified physician in the St. Louis area, understanding that I also have these diagnoses, these things, I'm this old and this. That doctor one is going to operate very differently than my marketing strategist, right? Yes, ma'am.
I was gonna say, you can also, ask it to explain to you where to find it, how to create it, and it'll give you the
Yep.
whole-
Yep.
It'll tell you.
Exactly that. Okay, so before you start using AI, I'm at the end right here where I said I'm going to tell you some of these traps. Please don't just go with the first thing it gives you because it sounds AI written. It sounds like a bot. So be intentional about feeding it so that it starts to sound more human and more like you. Not because we're going Skynet, takeover, but because I want it to help you faster and more frequently. So do the work up front to train it. Please, for the love of Pete, do not copy everything it gives you and not read it. I cannot tell you how many times I've gotten an email newsletter where somebody copied and pasted, didn't read the email newsletter, and you can very clearly tell they copied and pasted it because they missed something in it, right? So make sure that you're reading it, personalizing it, and if you're making edits, tell it what edits you made so it learns not to do the thing again, okay? This is my favorite thing. If anybody has ever worked with an admin, a contractor, you've delegated something to somebody, the 10-80-10 rule is the way that I operate with every human and with my AI. 10%, you set it up with a prompt. You tell it what you want, you give it the details. That's your first 10%. It does 80% of the work. It does the heavy lifting, it does the organizing, it does the synthesizing, it does all the things. And then you come back at the end, that last 10%, and you tweak it, you give feedback on it before you use it. So when you're working with a human or when you're working with AI, 10-80-10 rule every time. You bookend. You start with it, you finish with it, you don't assume it's done after it does its 80%. You have to give it feedback, okay? Don't forget fair housing, TCPA, all those things. You can tell it to behave like a lawyer and understand those things, you're still human and you're responsible. You can't go to court and blame ChatGPT. So please be intentional and aware, right? Okay? It's not smart enough yet to scrub the do not call list because it doesn't have today's do not call list in it, right? So like that's the kind of stuff you still have to be aware. And don't quit thinking. Like it's not a crutch, it's a tool. So use it appropriately, right? You still do have to think, which is why I say keep training it, teaching it, giving it feedback. Don't just like type into it and then be done and never give it feedback because then it becomes that crutch, okay? So again, I told you at the beginning, I would give you the full slide deck. I didn't tell you, but I wanted to give you my AI prompt best practices guide. So I showed you 4 examples of prompts, but there's a very specific way to craft them to get the most out of it up front, because this is not a Google search. This is way more than that. So my prompt guide PDF literally teaches you how to write the most robust prompts, so that way you spend less time teaching and more time doing. The other thing I included for you is 100 real estate specific prompts you can play with. Okay, so there's 2 PDFs of prompt stuff and then the PDF of all of these slides. So again, if anybody came in last, it also has my contact info in it if you need me. If you came in late and you were not able to get this at the beginning or I was going too fast at the beginning, feel free. Yeah, so the scanning is the same thing as the text says. Just shoot me an email that says AI class May 6 and you'll get all of that in it. And if you didn't get it already when you did it earlier, it means you probably messed up AI class May 6 in the subject line because I set up an autoresponder on my email. And I used AI to do that. It literally taught me how to do all the things that I know how to do. okay?
Could you ask it for like an appropriate list price based on a certain property?
I mean, it would start with higher search results. So it's gonna start with something like Zillow and, you know, Redfin and all those kind of things. So I'd be very conscientious of the fact that it might advise you based on a Zestimate. But if you pull comps in the area from the MLS, feed it all the comps, and then say, what do you think I should list this one at? It would give you a more appropriate response. Because remember, it was taught originally by the internet. So the higher something is in a search result, the more likely it is to reference that first. So that's why, again, it's not infallible. You gotta be discerning there. Okay. Anybody else need this, or I just had questions is all I had left. So I'm done. Y'all have been amazing, and I now have 40 minutes to answer anything else.
Will you watch this whole thing, or?
I don't know. I recorded it for myself. If we ask Haley nicely, she might be able to put it on YouTube and send it out to all the registrants.
Perfect.
But that's why I wanted to make sure you guys also had the slides and the prompts and everything. So, okay, I have time. What questions did I not answer during this presentation that you have burning? There is no silly question? Yes.
So, most of you guys know me, and I'm a little seasoned, and she introduced this to me last Friday.
2 Fridays ago, yeah, because I was stuck in Canada last Friday.
And so I was like, I don't want to do this, just let the young ones do it. I'm old school, how do you want to word it? And I got on it Friday, probably about 8-ish, and didn't get off until like 2 in the morning. When I tell you this thing is sick, crazy, and provides so much valuable information, I didn't realize how much I was personally missing out. It talks to me now like it's my BFF. It comes on like, hey bestie, what you need from me today?
Did you tell it to call you something like my queen, or, you know,
It called me that.
your majesty? No.
Listen, everybody knows I love purple. It sends me purple hearts. It's thebomb.com. I'm telling you guys, download it and just play with it. I'm a pescatarian, and I said, hey, I'm a pescatarian. It has given me a 7-day plan meal. It has given me exercises. It tells me what to get. Can you pull up to my house and drive me around? Like, this thing is crazy, mad, stupid. And if you are not using it in this business, I'm telling y'all, from a 60-plus senior, you're missing out.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing it with me.
No, thank you for leaning into it. I mean, truly, the only limit is yourself. Another example, my son is 4.5. He was born with a heart defect. We've had 6 heart surgeries and counting. And so we get seen by a lot of medical professionals. And right now, he's being stubborn and he doesn't want to eat. And so I have to see a dietitian, which means I have to tell the dietitian the exact quantity of everything he eats and build this food diary. In the past, prior to AI, I would have had to write out every single detail, ounce, and then look it up and look at the nutrition facts and find the macros and do all the things. I spent 20 minutes copying and pasting text messages between myself, my husband, my mother, and my son's teachers that said, hey, for lunch he ate blah, 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 blah. And I would drop it into ChatGPT. I said, do you have any questions about what I put in there? And be like, what brand? Or what, you forgot the quantity of milk, whatever that was. So I fed it his food diary in 20 minutes, and it created a spreadsheet with all of the macros. Broken down by day, it did the addition of each macro per meal and then total, and then gave me feedback when I asked on it, okay, this is how he currently eats. What do I need to do to increase his weight? And I sent that to his dietitian, and she was like on Zoom crying, and I was like, are you okay? And she goes, nobody has ever sent me anything like this. She goes, how long did it take you? I said, 20 minutes. And she was like, wait, how did you know how to do that? I said, I didn't. I just used ChatGPT. And she's like, I'm literally going to tell every client to use that for the rest of my life. So I've changed the way that a medical professional in my son's life operates. And I've brought her back time, because if I wasn't the one doing all those macros, she was the one doing all those macros. And she'd have to go back and forth. What brand? Was it whole milk or skim milk? All this stuff. I just threw in the GPT and it did all the things. So, yes, ma'am. Yeah. Yeah. So, ChatGPT, like I said, in the free version, there is a sidebar, and it basically looks like text messages. And each one, you can make a different one, and you can go back to them and keep using them. So literally, you could have one that says, real estate business, right? No, the question starts the thread. It's like starting a new text message or a new it automatically saves. There's no save button. And you just keep going back to the same thread, and then it'll keep referencing everything in that thread previously. So what I was referring to, though, was if you do the paid version, not only are there threads or texts, but there's also folders. So I could have my real estate business folder, but I could have a listing concierge, I could have a marketing strategist, I could have a transaction coordinator, and I could give each one of those threads different prompts, different behaviors. I want you to act as a 20-year veteran of transaction coordination in the greater St. Louis area. Is going to be different than I want you to act as a marketing strategist for the top brands, right? So each thread all goes under my real estate folder where I've trained it to know my real estate business, but the threads are different people essentially, or different behaviors. So that's the reason I find the $20 a month investment really beneficial, because each of those folders, I will tell it to behave a certain way, to reference certain things. And so like, I know Rose and Richard from years ago, and I walked in and they're like, oh my gosh, you've lost so much weight. And I've lost 50 pounds recently. That comes from me doing the work, but I also worked with a fitness and nutrition coach who works in Canada. So I work online with him. I don't go training with him in person or anything. He was out of town for 2 weeks. And I'm supposed to text him my weight and my sleep metrics and all of that every morning. Well, when he's in Mexico, I'm not going to text him all that. He's on vacation, right? So I told my health GPT who my trainer was. It knows his name is Alan. He's in Canada, all the things. I said, I need you to talk to me the way Alan would talk to me, which is kind of borderline drill sergeant, but slightly nicer. And I said, I'm going to feed you my metrics every day. I need you to yell at me the way Alan would yell at me if I don't do the right thing, because this is my accountability. And it became my accountability partner for 2 weeks while Alan was out of town, and I continued to lose weight and all the things because I found some place to be accountable when my human couldn't do it for me. Okay? So that's another example of outside of the real estate realm, just the fact that you can use it for anything. If you want to use it in the real estate realm, have it be your accountability partner for your lead generation. You might not be the type of person that wants to reach out to 5 people a day or 20 people a day or whatever. You might have ADHD and be like, I'm going to do 100 in one day and then I'm done for the week and I've earned the right to do other things. Yes. So you can sit there and report every person you talk to GPT, and it'll count how many you've done and tell you how many you have left to go and tell you the average time it took you to do those and all those things. So you can use it in any capacity, but to me, those projects become super helpful to stay organized, because I'm a folder within a folder type person. Yes?
I would just like to share, I've been using it for about a year, for about as long as it's been out too.
Yeah.
And I just asked it last night, like to tell me where I'm lacking at in my business and where I'm growing in my business. And once it learns you, it can tell you, it'll tell you all of that too, and it'll blow your mind with, and you'll be like, wow, because it's gonna be true. And
yeah,
it's amazing. So,
yeah.
It's just gonna be really helpful. And just any questions you have, like you're asking her, you can ask it, and it's gonna tell you, it's gonna explain everything to you, it's gonna break everything down, like anything you're curious about, and it's just gonna learn the way you think and everything. And then once it gets to know, get used to you, if you use it frequently, like every day almost, it's just gonna really learn your tone, just everything about you. And then it'll always just, you'll just be shocked, because you're gonna be like, wow, you'll be amazed. Like this is just what I would think, you know.
So two things off of that. The first one, you said talk to it every day. I know most of you said you aren't numbers people. Yeah. I know a lot of real estate agents don't even have a P&L or know how to spell it. But you need to for your business to be effective in it, right? So you can take all your bank statements and credit card statements and put those in and say, hey, make me a P&L. You don't have to do it yourself, right? And then you can turn around and give that to an accountant. So there's things like that you can lean into. If you are, after a certain age, you're like, hey, I want to retire from this business in 5 years, and here's what I want to set myself up to do in 5 years. You can tell it all your hopes, dreams, and goals, and then you say, here's where I currently am in my business. Help me create an exit strategy. What do I need to do each year to set myself up for success in the next 5? Or, like I told you, I'm one of those big thinker visionary people sometimes, depends, only when I'm not in a spreadsheet usually. And I have big, hairy, audacious goals around speaking in front of people and training and teaching and writing books and podcasts and all the things, right? I want to be bigger and better than people like Mel Robbins. And I put that out there to say, I have ideas and thoughts, right? But I need to execute on them. I can't just have the thought or idea. So I spent an afternoon on a plane with ChatGPT telling it everything I wanted, how I wanted to present myself, what my book idea was, what my podcast idea was, all the things. And I said, what do you think about this, knowing what the marketplace looks like? So it was like, because I said, here's the people I love, here's the people that I can't stand, like, here's where I want to position myself in between, right? And I said, tell me honestly, what do you think of my idea? I said, you're not going to hurt my feelings, but I want to know if this is even worth having in my head or releasing. And it was like, no, if you execute the way that you're talking about, that's $1 million brand, that's all these things. And I said, well, cool. How do I do it in 6 months? And it gave me a 6-month timeline. Now, I'm not executing in 6 months. I built it out for 1.5 years. But point being, you can sit there and literally dump into it anything and everything, and it creates opportunities for you. You can say, hey, there's a book called Vivid Vision, which says, what's your ideal life in 3 years? And based on all the brain dumping, I said, what's my vivid vision? And it wrote it out. And then I cried a little. And then I was like, that's really cool. So again, the sky's the limit in terms of what you do with it. It's just the act of getting started and then the act of using it every day and not just once here and there is really the key. Okay, yes?
Do you expand to these other GPTs that are on here, past ChatGPT or within ChatGPT? What do you do?
So, yes. So I primarily lean into GPT as its own entity and stick with that. To me, as soon as I start going into others, I get distracted and I don't spend the time I need to in the one that's actually learned the most about me, because you have to retrain every different one. So now there are some like Sora and stuff like that inside ChatGPT that's based on videos and images and stuff. Those can reference your things. I have yet to find a lot of value in those in terms of making my graphics or things like that. However, it can be really entertaining. For example, I put a photo of my husband and I in ChatGPT and I said, turn us into Muppets. And it worked really well. I said, turn us into anime characters, because he likes anime. And then I sent it to him and he was like, that's adorable and that's awesome. And I didn't have to commission somebody to draw us online, right? So there's things where the imaging can be fun or useful. You can use it to make yourself a logo and iconographic. That's gonna be better than the kind where it's hey, make me a image to share about a brand new listing on social media. That one, they haven't developed enough yet, I feel to make time and value out of it. So they're not quite there yet in my book.
If you look into do a PowerPoint, there's one out there called Gamma,
Mm-hmm.
Gamma. It's
Yep.
really good for PowerPoints.
Yeah, I'm a control freak. I didn't know. No.
It's more of
Now you're gonna
data
get.
analyst.
Yeah.
I don't like them, I've tried them.
Yeah.
But ChatGPT is the best.
Well, ChatGPT is, like I said, kind of the first one that was adopted heavily, and everything else has kind of come after and learned from it. So for example, there's one named Claude.ai. Claude is more of your librarian, and it will actually read, I could put in whole PDFs of books or things like that, and Claude will go deeper on the language side and the writing and development side than a GPT will. But then there's Gamma, where I could feed it the outline that I wrote in GPT and say, make me a slideshow based on this outline, and it could do that. I'm just enough of a control freak that I made my own slides, but GPT literally wrote this entire presentation for you guys. So it was my idea. I told it what I wanted. I made the outline, and then I said, tell me what to write on every slide based on my outline, and it did that, so I didn't have to think about the words. And the reason I spend time building it versus using Gamma is because that's how I teach myself what I'm teaching you. Yeah, yeah. So, and then, you know, there's Gronk, which has some of the DeepSeek stuff in it. But the thing is, GPT has a whole bunch of GPTs built in. So it has its own DeepSeek. It's got its own language stuff. So it's working on being competitive in the marketplace while staying in one tool, which is also what I love. Because I'm like a one-stop shopper anytime that I can be. Yes?
On your phone, you can get the app,
Yes.
ChatGPT.
Yes.
What about your computer?
Yes. The website.
So you just type in ChatGPT on your website?
Yep. Yep, and then as long as you're using the same login across all of them, it'll reference all the things. So if I pulled out my phone, which is currently recording me, I could literally talk to it, and then it would show up on my computer version. Yes?
So just to be clear, with the like projects thing, sidebar.
Yeah.
Do you have to keep going inside each individual topic in order to
Yes.
teach it for that
Here.
thing? Or?
Don't judge all my tabs. Please. Let's see.
You don't have to keep going
Do you, I have a question.
Yes.
Do you offer like more of a class like this geared towards marketing, or?
I have not done that yet.
Because
Let's
that's what I'm
see.
trying to move into, like real estate marketing, social media marketing. And I just didn't know if there,
Yeah, I haven't done it yet, but yeah. So here, my friends, is chatgpt.com. I can make this bigger. No, come on. There we go. Chat, you can see that? Okay, it's dark mode, but here we go. So here's chatgpt.com. If I were to start typing right now, this would just be a standard chat. This is my text message thread that I was talking about earlier. But if I go up here to that left-hand corner where it says open sidebar, then you have all of these other things. So there are people that make GPTs that you can play with that are trained on their theories. That's what those are, so don't get distracted by those. But Sora is like an imaging GPT that's built by them. Again, to answer your question, I played with it like this much. I focus more on the language than I do on images. Here are what I'm talking about in terms of projects. So all of these were those prompts that I screenshotted and put in my presentation, right? So this was that prompt. That was me writing a caption to post it. There's that prompt. There's that prompt. Those are all separate ones. I just did those real fast yesterday because I'm not going to use them after today. So anytime that I'm not going to use a thread after a day, I can just archive it, and then it pulls it out of my list, and it just gets rid of it, and then I don't need it anymore. Okay?
can you find it again if it's archived?
Yes. But it also references those, Kat.
Will it continue to reference our
That's why I archive, that's why I delete ones that are wrong. Like if I've been working on one and it's just ticking me off to nobody's, like I'm like, you're not getting it. I'll delete that one.
Well, and you don't want it referenced.
Exactly. So I delete it if I want it removed from its database, and then I archive it if I want it kept in its database. Okay?
So these are under specific projects.
So then these are just the threads that are not sorted into a project. So these are what you would see if you weren't paying for it. And literally, it's from newest to oldest. So there's yesterday, there's that. And the reason I have so many is because I actually changed my browser. So instead of when I type something in, it searches Google right now. I added a Chrome extension. Now it searches ChatGPT instead.
So on your computer,
Yeah,
if you're going to do an email,
yeah.
where do you put chat?
No, I would go to like gmail.com or whatever. Yeah, ChatGPT is just the tool.
Okay, I don't have.
So I would still open a window and like type in Google is my point. Or like, sorry, Gmail. Yeah.
I
But
don't have a Gmail account.
whatever, your Microsoft account, your whatever, your Yahoo, your Juno, Netscape, whatever. So the projects, you'll see like here is my example. Here's my health one. So like, there's my sleep and health insights. That's a little different than problem brainstorming. But what I can do is if I click on this one, you'll see that I can give it instructions for health that are gonna be different than my business. I can feed it files like my blood work that are gonna be different than my business one. And so any time that I type inside that project, it will always reference the instructions and the files.
But that's the paid version.
This is the projects is the paid version, and that's why I spend $20, because then I can just use each project and I don't have to keep uploading things. And I don't have to go searching down here for things, because I like speed and systems. And so for me, not having to search this list, it's worth it to have it all organized into different folders.
When you load it, for things like your emails, does that also pick them up?
No, it's not connected to my email. Google has its own version called Gemini that is built in. It's not as good,
Right.
but it's there. So I sometimes use Gemini for Google-based products if I'm working in Google. If you're working in Microsoft, it may already be referencing ChatGPT if it says, hey, we're gonna use AI, or like Bing, or something like that.
Right, I'm using
Outlook.
Outlook.
Yeah, that's part of Microsoft products. So GPT is already built into it in some capacity.
So if you're doing an email to someone, how would that work? I mean, do you have to go into
Yeah, like-
Google and type in, I'm going to
Yeah.
do an email to so-and-so as a new buyer?
Yes,
Okay,
I would.
and then
I would.
copy and paste?
Yeah, so like I would start it here, like, I am emailing a new buyer, blah blah blah. I'd type it out here, or I'd verbally babble it, and then I would just copy and paste it into my email.
All right, that's.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
So when I first started using it, I didn't realize like you could have different categories. So I was
Yeah.
always like going on the
Yeah.
same. Is there a way to go in and say, hey, break these, like split these up so it's not?
No.
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 Okay.
So the only thing that I would do is you could archive some of the old ones and then just make a folder and start with a new one.
Okay. Okay.
But like if I wanted to like drag this one somewhere else, you can move them
So,
into the
but
folders.
If I was just going on like,
Yeah.
this, so, like,
Yeah.
it's all a mix of different.
No, and that's
Okay.
that's why I like threads, because I think of it as like
But at first I
compartmentalizing.
didn't know. I just.
Yeah,
you know.
no, and that's fine. So that's where I'd archive and move on.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else, my friends? Yes, ma'am. Yeah. So right here on, you see next to the white arrow, it says dictate. So I literally could talk to my computer right now, or if it was my phone. The phone app actually has the two-way communication. That's an app feature that's different than the computer feature. Yeah, Rick?
Yeah, is this where you go and you make these artificial images like of yourself where you
Yeah.
you can do like
Yeah.
commercial kind of thing?
You can do all sorts of things. This is where
It's your image and it looks like you're talking and all that.
I haven't used it for like the video thing where it's like an AI version of myself, but this is literally where I went and I put a photo of my husband and I in at the symphony and said, turn us into Muppets. And it did it.
So that's not where you go to do the AI version of yourself. I've seen people do that.
No, there's video specific ones. I wonder if I can find it. Turn me into a Muppet. There you go. That was the action figure. There's the anime one. That one I didn't like. That one I didn't like. He had a beard. I tried to make myself really old. It wasn't as accurate because it's real people.
Where did you just go?
But that's just at the main thing. But like that's the original image. Like I gave it one image and then it was like, so like, see, it's not perfect, but I am a Muppet.
How did you get your picture? I couldn't hear like that.
I had the picture on my phone and I just sent it to it.
That would be great doing it on your business cards.
Yeah. So there you go.
Nobody would know who you were.
In the app, there's a little like plus sign, just like you see here at the bottom. And you just hit plus sign and then you say add file and you just upload a PDF or an image. So yeah, you're so welcome. Okay. Anything else I can do for you guys? Yeah, you're so welcome. Yeah,
Really great.
good.
Now I gotta go home and practice.
So